as jobs dwindle due to the post-industrial zero growth policy introduced by the Club of Rome. Here's the Club of Rome once again. These people plan to put this in effect, and they've been doing it through institutions like Stanford Research and Tavistock Institute, as I mentioned in my lecture. Skipping down to number 11, to keep people everywhere from deciding their own destinies by means of one created crisis after another, and then managing such crisis. We talked last time about the Hegelian dialectic principle. We talked about this system that we're under, this two-party system, two wings of the same damn bird. I call them the Republicrats, the Republicans and the Democrats, all controlled by the same people. And then they manage these particular crises. I believe it was David Rockefeller who said we're on the verge of a global transformation. And all we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the New World Order. This is David Rockefeller.
You're right, the right catalyzing event, and the nations will beg for the New World Order.
Exactly. So as the left challenges the right and squeeze everybody in the middle, and then we scream out for help, and we scream to the government gives us the plan that they set in motion from the very outstart. They control both sides. This is why Ron Paul and other people that brought up issues were dangerous to this particular system unless they was paid and bought off and made promises that they never planned to keep. So number 12, to introduce new cults and continue to boost those already functioning, which include rock music gangsters, they call them. And then this is where Tavistock Institute comes into play because of what they set in motion with music and vibratory frequencies and tones and what they plan to do to demoralize young people's morals, to dehumanize young people with listening to music. They even said this in documents that they have laid out.
And by the way, he on record worked for British intelligence. On record. I mean, it's on record. And he was told this there. That's how he knew this when he wrote the Committee of 300. It's got to be more than 20 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, man. I've totally forgotten about Dr. Michael Kaufman, or Coleman. There's also Dr. Michael Kaufman, who we've had on to expose this Agenda 21. Dr. John Coleman, you can watch videos of him online. Just type in his name. We ought to do some excerpts on the nightly news. Their final revolution attacks humans from all sides. See, people are like, well, why does the government run Al-Qaeda? But Al-Qaeda is also killing us. They just finance gangster leaders. Brzezinski's written like 3 books just calling it gangsterism. That's what Professor Griff had just gotten to, where it's criminals. And the heads of Al-Qaeda are just criminals, not the guys they say they're killing. And most of the time, they're not even really killing them in drone strikes. They're doing drone strikes that's come out just to make the Pakistani people revolt and take over the government and put radicals in. I mean, it's sophisticated, folks. They flew tens of thousands of Taliban and Al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan. Our government did, into Pakistan. That was even in the Financial Times of London. Nobody got in trouble for it. We're going to go back to Professor Griff, and I promise he's on to take your calls. He'll graciously stay with us some into the next hour before Dr. Steve Pachinik, former head of Black Ops for the State Department, and psychological warfare, who said the bin Laden thing was fake. Now mainstream news is coming out admitting there's like 3, 4, 5 different versions of that. He'll be on the last 30 minutes. Okay, Professor Griff, I want to go to these calls, but I'm telling you, you're laying out such hardcore info that I remember reading The Goals of the Illuminati 20 years ago and knowing how accurate it was and interviewing Coleman so many times. And then now it's all coming true, but now it's out in the open. It's like the headlines are what he talks about. So finish up with those points, and then let's go to the phone calls.
I'm going to move real quick. 13, to continue to build up the cult of Christian fundamentalism, beginning by the British East Indian Company. years ago?
And British Intel created them, yeah.
Exactly. 15, to export religious liberation ideas around the world so as to undermine all existing religions. 16, to cause a total collapse of the world's economy. We're going to get back to that one. I have something to say about that, especially dealing with America. To take control of all foreign and domestic policies of the United States. To give the fullest support to, 18, to give the fullest support to supranational institutions such as the United Nations. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, excuse me, that was a Freudian slip. The Bank of International Settlements and World Courts. 19, to penetrate and subvert all governments and work from within to destroy sovereignty and sovereign integrity of the nation. 20, we're almost at the end, to organize a worldwide terrorist apparatus and to negotiate with terrorists whenever terrorist activities take place. Last but not least, to take control of education in America with the intent and purpose of utterly and completely destroying it. Those are the 21 goals written by Dr. Coleman in the book Committee of 300, dealing with the 21 goals of the Illuminati.
That's right, and everybody should get that book. I think it's still available. We should carry it. I mean, I read it close to 20 years ago, I think about 96 or so. And people also need to, it's up at educate-yourself.org. They've got a link to some of the text. We're going to mirror it over at Infowars.com. Don Salazar is posting it right now on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com because absolutely that is such key information that you pulled out of the memory hole here today, Professor Griff. You wanted to go back to a few of the points in there, and then we'll go to calls.
Let me just say this one last thing. Give me 30 seconds. There was an essay written by a young lady named Nicole Terry. Hopefully she's listening and she doesn't mind us pulling her work up. Essay is explaining what has happened to this world. She said, what would happen to someone who played a major role in the discovery and publication of the following facts? Number one, the IRS is not a U.S. government agency. Number two, the IMF is an agency of the UN. Number three, the U.S. had not had a treasury since 1921. Number four, the U.S. Treasury is now the IMF. 5, the United States does not have any employees because there is no longer a United States. 6, the alphabet boys, the FCC, CIA, FBI, NASA, and the rest of the alphabet gangs were never part of the United States to begin with. 7, the Social Security numbers are issued through the UN, through the IMF. 8, there are no judicial courts in America because there has not been since 1789. 9, there have not been any judges in America since 1789. 11, we have one world government, one law, one world monetary system. 12, the UN is a one world super government. There's 21 of them, but I want to stop right there and take the callers' calls.
Sure, and you're going to share a little bit with us in the next hour so you can lay out more knowledge for people, but briefly, and then we will go to calls. We have an article at Infowars.com, robo-reporters to replace mainstream journalists. So now the government or corporation puts out a press release, a robo-writer re-scrambles it, but it's the same propaganda, and then puts a fake name on it. They're going to have nom de plumes, pen names, and then they're going to just get rid of the little government repeaters that just repeat whatever the government says anyway. I mean, this is crazy. If you notice now, they're even now saying we may not even have press conferences anymore. We may have a virtual president where it's a hologram. I mean, they are overthrowing reality. This thing is now starting to move really quick, Professor Griff. What's your take on the whole technocracy?
I think it's almost mind-numbing simply because I watched this gentleman, Will I Am, of the group Black Eyed Peas, support and write songs and this kind of thing for Barack Obama. He even admitted that because of the hologram, he ended up in 4 and 5 different locations at one time. Shortly after that, they did a concert, I believe at Coachella, and they brought Tupac out on the stage via the hologram. And this blew a lot of people away. And then they even admitted in certain documents on the internet that they were going to start having hologram concerts. where you can see Otis Redding and Whitney Houston and Heavy D and some of the other artists that have transitioned and passed on. Now we can see them now in concert by a hologram. It is mind-numbing, simply because a lot of people that I talk to on a daily basis, especially young people, they don't know reality from non-reality. A lot of people's non-reality has become their reality. If an artist sits in the studio and crafts a song, just a song that comes out of his imagination, by the time it hits the sacred airwaves and the video comes out, a young person listening to that particular song views that as their reality. But it's not real.
Most people I know now, when you go to the Target or any store, it's all about virtual reality, these games. People pay money to have a Ferrari in an imaginary world. They pay to have a girlfriend. And then people actually start worshiping them with a status because they have the illusion this is the Wizard of Oz world eating the real world.
Yes. Yes. I asked the question earlier, does art imitate life or does life imitate art?
And we know they're using artificial art to then create the life they want. They're feedback looping us. They're force feeding us all this.
Exactly.
And the truth is that people watch my breakdown of Prometheus. They really believe they are the descendants of aliens and that we're the profane and have to be exterminated. It's just all so bizarre. And whether it's real or not, folks, they believe it. They're crazy. They're in charge because we stand down and let them rule. Because we don't have this arrogant desire to dominate everything. So, wow, heavy show today. So glad to have Professor Griff here with us. Mike in Oregon, got a lot of great questions here. Mike, Freddie, James, Boren, Vitold. We're going to get to all of you. Mike, you're on the air with Professor Griff. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me today.
You bet, buddy. Go ahead.
Oh, on the holographic subject, I thought it was funny. They're probably going to have like an Obama one Kenobi type deal where it like tells you when to turn on and off the lights, tells you what to eat and whatnot. You think?
No, that's actually THX 1138 is off of Brave New World, which Aldous Huxley said is their actual plan. So go watch that George Lucas 1973 film with Robert Duvall, and that's what they're planning, if you're lucky.
Wow. Oh, and the video game subject with the violent video games, I was reading some where the high schools and the middle schools want to get a poll of all the kids using video games, and then they want to put them on like an anger management type program, saying that they all could potentially be Adam Lanzas, and that we all needed to get them hooked on psychotropics and all sorts of stuff.
No, I hear you. Let's get Professor Griff's take on that. Yeah, the public, they're saying they're going to put the so-called Colorado shooter on truth serum to make him tell the truth when that's actually what you use to mind control him. And the guy's under a DARPA mind control program, just like it's admitted that the Unabomber, Theodore Kaczynski, was in MK-Ultra. I mean, that's in the LA Times, and then no one says, hey, we should investigate if he was mind control, and then they assign the same mind control doctor, the second most famous in world history, to be McVeigh's doctor. I mean, it's all hidden in plain view. Professor Griff, 10 years ago we talked about Al-Qaeda being globalist run. Now they just admit it. Well, why do you think they're just coming out in the open with everything?
I think simply because the plan that they set in motion have set up its base already in the hearts and the minds of the people. We're at the phase of this thing where the people are crying out and clamoring for this whole idea of change. This is one of the reasons why the Obama deception, too, is very important, simply because now we get a chance to come back and let the people know, look, we said this and started doing this prior to Obama becoming president. Look at what's been going on. Look what is going on right now, so that we can lay out the plan, what's about to happen. And if people don't want to go along with it and believe it, listen, that's on them. This is what's been laid out by people that are watching this thing, and
that's right.
And no one understands.
That's right. This is a fact. Whether people act like that's your opinion. No. I mean, if you jump off a 1,000-foot cliff without a parachute, you're going to die. This is what we're saying here is not our opinion. The globalists are bragging. We're telling you what's public. That's what's so frustrating. It drives me crazy.
Exactly. And this next quote is very, very public. This is a statistical